Come on out to Brown Mountain Bottle Works at 115 East Union Street in Morganton, North Carolina, the place to be for great craft beer. Browse their shelves with hundreds of craft beer selections. Relax and enjoy one of their 12 draft taps. Check them out on the Untapped app for their current draft beer selections and go to their website to see the latest beer offerings and events at www.brownmountainbottleworks.com. We'll see you there.
Hi, I'm Glenn, Dave's behind the camera. We're the NC Beer Guys. Welcome to another episode of the NC Beer Buzz. We found our way down to Wilmington today. We've been to a great big beer festival and we're visiting some nice new breweries down here and some places we've been before and know and love. Had a great lunch at Front Street, for example, and we always love Front Street. So we'll shout out to Front Street since they don't get their own video this time, since they're old grandfather beer people. So we found our way to the newest brewery in Wilmington. We're at Wrightsville Beach Brewing, and we're, contrary to the name, we are still barely in Wilmington, but it's called Wrightsville Beach Brewing.
That's right.
And we're here with Judd Watkins, who calls himself the head oyster shucker here. And he is the founder, brain behind the man, and we'll leave it at that here at Wrightsville Beach. So we've been open since January on the food side, and a little later on the beer side.
That's right.
How later? We've just had beer for a week or 10 days?
Yeah, just 8 days now.
And that meant you've been making beer for just since Christmas?
No, we played it strictly by the book on that one. So technically, and a lot of people sometimes kind of fudge this one. We played it by the rules.
Okay.
Sometimes I'm good at that, sometimes I'm not. But
right.
in this situation, we felt like we had a little too much on the line to fudge it. So the rule is until you have a certificate of occupancy and you get a local government opinion, technically, you don't have the TTB's green light
to do beer,
to make brew beer. So literally the day we got our certificate of occupancy from New Hanover County,
you started brewing.
We started brewing. We had the hops, we had the malt, all sitting here ready to go. We had already been pre-approved by TTB. I got in the car and I drove straight to Raleigh, got the ABC licenses, and we opened that day.
Great.
And started brewing that day. And
but there was a long, arduous journey to that day.
There was. Because
we've been hearing honestly about you guys for a year and a half or so.
Sure.
Thought you might do something last summer, or kind of was targeted last summer, or particularly last fall. I think you were really hoping for last fall.
Yep.
But between the weather and some governmental permitting, it just didn't happen.
Sure.
Was that frustrating? I mean, did you ever doubt what your mission was or doubt what your goals were?
It's been going on for a decade. You know, that was the original idea, was my father and I out oystering, and you know, we'd take a stout with us. You'd knock a bushel of oysters and you crack open a stout and shuck one right there in the marsh and have a oyster, have a sip of stout, have an oyster, have a sip of stout.
Yep.
And we said, why in the world was there only one brewery in Wilmington at the time?
And that was the case for many, many years.
It was for the longest time, 20 years. You know, there were breweries before Front Street.
Yep.
They went away, and then Front Street held their own, all by them lonesome.
But barely for some years.
Yeah, there was some years, and I believe they're on their 4th or 5th owner now. Tom has really turned that business around.
Oh yeah.
He's got a great team down there, and about 4 years ago, my father and I.
You were home brewing?
I was home brewing for that whole period. You know, the day we said, this is something we want to do, my father and I started home brewing.
Okay.
So, and it was kind of a pretty easy segue because the same big old pots we were using to steam oysters in,
we started
home brewing in.
You did a wort in.
It took us a little bit of time to realize we probably shouldn't use the same pots.
But home brewers learn these things over time, right?
Right. And that was, I mean, at that point in time, we were doing it through the mail.
Everybody did because you didn't have places to go to get things.
Right. So then I started driving up to Raleigh and Durham, the homebrew shops up there. Yep. Shout out to those guys. And we were elated when John and Michelle opened Wilmington Homebrew. It saved me 4.5 hours in the car to go get beer supplies.
And local people doing good things.
They're the nicest people on the planet.
Well, talk about that a little bit. The beer scene, we'll jump across the stories a little bit, but the beer scene in Wilmington has come up in the last 3-4 years.
It has. So Barry over at Broomtail, Barry and Lisa, and Mike down at Flytrap really they laid the path for all of us.
And knocked down some doors and changed some things.
Huge ones. Some city ordinances that were a little archaic, a little bit frustrating.
Right.
And
but somebody has to be the barrier breaker.
Yeah, they were. And
every brewery couldn't be on Front Street.
No, Front Street, man, 2 decades in the work, and their beer these days is stellar. So it's cool that we had one that's been here this long, and that the quality of the beer is that good. Some towns you go to, there's complacency that you kind of rest on your laurels when you've been around. And Christopher, head brewer down there at Front Street now, is doing a great job, is kind of shaking things up a bit. And Kevin, when Kevin came in, really shook things up, and it was started taking it to the next level of the beer there. So yeah, all these guys.
So you knew one day you'd do that. You saw it happening.
It was a dream. It was way out here for a long time, and then 4 years ago, my father and I, 4.5 years ago, sat down and we said, we got to do this.
If we're going to do it.
This is too good of an idea not to pull it off. And tragically, 60 years old, about the same shape as I am, fit guy, passed away, heart attack. Totally unexpected. And he and I had told each other that year, this is the year. He was going to quit his job. I was going to quit mine. We were going to go all in on this. So it took me another 2 to 2.5 years after that.
Is this mine to do or not alone?
Right, and it was tough. There were times I doubted it. There were times that I went, can I do it without him?
Because it meant something different then.
It did.
To you.
So the original idea was he would take charge of the oyster side of things. I would take charge of the brewing side of things.
Because you always knew you do food and beer?
That's right. The original idea was just oysters and beer.
Okay.
And as we started kind of touring different brew pubs, we realized that's a really tight menu. And some people aren't as crazy about oysters as I am. They're not as passionate about those oysters as I am. So we did know we wanted to do food. We just didn't kind of know where it would be.
And you thought at one point it might just be an oyster bar with beer. Just oyster,
Right. But as we listened to other brewers, and as we talk to other people in the industry, and they're so welcoming, particularly in North Carolina.
It's all a community. We're all in this together.
Yeah. Right. They give me great feedback. They said, you got to have this, you got to have this. You have to have certain food items that are going to be your best sellers. You have to respect the North Carolina laws. There used to be 60-40 laws, the 50-50 laws, all that. So you need to, if you're going to do the food, you need to do it right. You can't do just oysters.
It can't be an afterthought. Right. It has to be. Even though you were kind of on the beer guy side a little bit.
Right. But in the course of it all, I actually became a commercial fisherman. But I was jumping around all over the place. I was in Washington, D.C., running a restaurant up there. And then I started working with at-risk kids. I did wilderness therapy and youth counseling. I did in-home counseling with kids. And then I went and ran some other businesses and said, I'm passionate about beer, I'm passionate about fishing, I'm passionate about oysters. So picked up a commercial fishing license, and that's kind of what has evolved the restaurant concept. It's a very seafood heavy menu, but when you think about beer, two things come to mind. It's burgers or pizza. I don't want to say you have to choose one of the two, but you almost do.
Right.
And we've got a great neighbor over here at Saltworks, which is one of the oldest restaurants in Wilmington. It makes one of the best burgers in town. So out of kind of respect to Saltworks, we said, we'll go the pizza route.
We'll do something else.
The burger route, but we'll go pizza. So we've got our Airly Amber Ale is the beer we put in the dough, which is a fun trick. You're using yeast anyway in your pizza dough. So we've got an excellent executive chef, Chef Owens, and he came up with the recipe. I said, hey, let's try this, and the guy went through 200 recipes of it. His family swore off pizza for the next year.
I'm sure, right.
But man, he nailed it. It's a great recipe. I could just eat the dough, like a focaccia bread. It's got great flavor to it. So our pizzas, actually, reluctantly, I'll admit that they're outselling oysters right now, but oysters are a close second behind the pizzas.
Well, but as you say, everybody's not got the palate for oysters that others do.
Sure.
And you grew up, and you wouldn't think
on the
you
coast,
don't know about not eating oysters.
I've been eating oysters since before I could remember.
Right.
So, but we think nothing goes better with a nice stout than a good salty North Carolina oyster.
Great.
So, that's the logo. That's oyster on there. and we're gonna have fun with it.
So we've got a pretty big system back here.
We do.
We didn't start small. We got a canning line.
Canning line.
So you didn't decide to do this just on a shoestring.
No.
Location, new site location, brand new building.
Brand new building, and we're a 20-barrel system. So we went down and talked to the guys at Front Street, talked to our friends up at Lost Province, and when you look at brew pubs, there's hardly a brew pub in North Carolina that's smaller than 10 barrels and can keep up. So set out aiming for 10 or 15. Our friends at ABE out in Lincoln, Nebraska gave us a great deal on a 20-barrel system. So we committed to that instead of a 15-barrel system. 6 fermentation tanks, a couple of brights, and so then we'll have the choice of kegs or cans. We're currently kegging. We'll get to the canning line probably in the next month. The goal is, before any beer hits a can, to have brewed it 3 times. Really dial in the quality,
get
the
some
recipe.
consistency.
Exactly.
And will we see the cans more than just in Wilmington? I know you'll probably have some local accounts.
The goal is to take it in baby steps. With kegs, we'll start 10 accounts, grow that to 30 accounts or whatever, and then cans, kind of the same thing. We'll take it in steps.
And then may step up like to New Bern or Jacksonville and just
whatever we can do within an hour first. Raleigh's got a great beer market. That's not even on the radar right now. It's 2 hours up the road.
And there's lots of people competing for the beer market up there.
It's become incredibly competitive. There's a lot of really good beer up there. Raleigh's got a strong canning scene already. Asheville's got a really strong canning scene already. So we'll stick down here to the coast. And the cool thing
for a while at least.
Yeah. I mean, we'll let it grow organically and see where the demand is. But the main inspiration behind the canning line is when you go out to the beach.
That's right.
I'm not going to say names of certain beaches, but some allow alcohol, some don't, but none of them allow glass. Makes sense. You're at the beach, you don't want to cut your foot on a broken glass bottle. So you go cans. The other thing is boats. Same rules apply. Some guys
it's just safer to have the cans.
Won't allow glass.
And the can quality is good now, and not like it used to be. So many people have the old perception of a craft beer can't be in a can, but that's gone now. At least by people that know craft beer.
Absolutely. So yeah, we're at the beach. You're going to have a lot of sunlight. You're going to have that temperature shock.
You need the mobility of the beer.
It's better for the beer.
That's great.
Yeah. So we're excited to get that operational here pretty soon. But in the meantime, we got all of our fermentation tanks full, and we're kind of moving with the seasons here. So handful of extra dark beers in the wintertime, go with the oysters while oysters are in season. And then we'll move into some more floral, more citrusy type stuff in the spring. In the summertime, we're going to move to lighter bodied beer, stuff you can sit on the beach and drink 2 of them, not feel absolutely terrible.
Now, are you going to try to keep your fingers into brewing?
Absolutely. I
know you're running the whole show now. Is that can you run the whole show and still be the brewer?
I've got a real good GM.
Okay.
He helps me out on the front of house side of things. He's got a nice touch with the books as well. Keeps me organized. My wife has come in, stolen her away from the nonprofit side of things, so she's now our philanthropic liaison. Helps us out with events.
Because you're all about community too. We didn't really say that, but you are all about where you come from and giving back. Yeah, so you're a local boy.
That's right. I grew up about a mile down the road, right here in the Seagate area, and that's the fun thing about we couldn't open at Wrightsville Beach because of the rules there. But Seagate's actually even more historic area than Wrightsville Beach. Before anybody was crazy enough to live on a barrier island, the fishermen lived back here.
This is the jumping off point.
Right here on the creek. So I actually love where we are. I've been super excited to be a part of the community here. They've been very welcoming. It's a lot of fun. And it's been years since there's been a restaurant that had dinner service. Saltworks is breakfast and lunch only. So the last time there was a restaurant down this stretch was about 15, 20 years ago. So the community's been incredibly welcoming. We've already doubled up on the number of booster seats we have because families are coming in, which is a great thing.
That's great, but you didn't necessarily predict that, right?
No, not necessarily. You always read about the millennials. That's a big segment. Baby boomers are the fastest growing segment. But families, 30 to 40 to 50 have been our staple, our best customers.
And you've not seen the seasonal people yet.
No, really out-of-towners, very small percentage right now.
But they'll find you, right?
Let's hope so. I always think with Wilmington, we've got a strong restaurant scene. If you get it right with the locals, then they'll be the ones that bring the tourists to you. Because when their friends come to visit them, they say, come here.
Right.
It's the best oysters in town. That's our goal.
And that's your best marketing, and that word of mouth is what's going to keep you here.
Right, right.
That's
so,
great.
yeah, we're excited about it, and that's delays. That happens to every business. But opening off season gives us time to work out the kinks.
And it's all, in some senses, irrelevant now because we're open.
If you don't mind, I'm going to sit here and have some oysters while we're...
But I don't mind a bit.
Okay, great. Well, oysters are my favorite with this stout, so I hope you'll have a couple with me. Thank you, Anthony.
You're very welcome.
Appreciate it.
Can I bring in a second roll up?
No, we're good. We're good. Thanks.
Yeah, we'll get our fingers down and dirty.
Since it was tapped for a minute, I untapped it.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
Well, we're going to let you enjoy the oysters.
No, what you get in here? You're not an oyster guy?
I am an oyster guy. We'll do some, but we're going to bring this to a close.
Okay.
Thanks so much. We wish you well. Thanks for having us in.
Yeah.
To all our viewers, make sure next time you head to Wrightsville Beach in Wilmington area, you check out the new brewery in Wilmington, Wrightsville Beach. Wrightsville Beach Brewing, right down on Oleander between downtown Wilmington and Wrightsville Beach. For Dave and Glenn, it's NC Beer Guys reminding you to drink local and keep your beer dollars in North Carolina.
That's right. We've devoured these oysters and a couple of these delicious beers.
That's right.
So shout out to Kevin Zelnio, our head brewer. We stole him away from J-Dubs down in Florida, and he is, from day one, kicked out some really great beers. So cheers, Kevin.
We're looking forward to meeting him when next time we're down here.